Starting broadcast. Welcome everybody to tonight's ID Network. My name is Lou Jensen. We've been together for several years as the artistic cooperative. What we're trying to do is help our talented people discover they've got some talent, develop that talent to as much degree as we can, and then eventually master something. The master of something is what works well in the marketplace and almost nothing else does. And then once you learn how to master a particular unique subject, then we try and show and share and help each other do better and get further into the marketplace. And it's my privilege to introduce the green room, the guys in the show tonight. We are always full, and I appreciate that a ton because you've all got really busy lives. And tonight we want to visit a little bit with Lance Larson in Arizona and Ron Schneeberger in Florida. Talk a little bit about their day today because they have had quite a day. I think the extraordinary news is that Ron Schneeberger was a guest commentary on the Brett Beer news program with on Fox News today, and we're going to talk about how that rolled out and what happened, because we'll talk about an exciting moment, and it all came together because of what we're doing over here on Google Plus. Dropped right smack in his lap, and I don't know how you can get at that kind of exposure without these kinds of tools anymore. It's just the most interesting thing I've ever seen in business. And so all of us who are struggling with this technology, trying to figure out what it is and how to use it, we're learning together and we're teaching each other, and this is the beginning of some really powerful stuff. It's funny how my grandfathers were pioneers and came to Utah in the 1800s and started a life here that has then benefited and blessed all the rest of us as ancestors. And I've never kind of thought of myself as a pioneer until I run into things like what happened this morning when Ron called me. I get some really wonderful phone calls, but that was as good as it gets today. So we're going to talk to him here in just a second. Lance and I visited for a quick minute today, and he's had some fun stuff happen, and he's got lots to do right now. He's just under the gun. So we're going to visit with him first for a second about how things have gone lately for him, and then we'll excuse you. So our superstars, they can only come on the Jay Leno show for a little while, and then they have to we'll give you that blended benefit. Is that all right?
That's just fine.
I always laugh at the stars that would come on the shows, and the ones that could come and then just leave as soon as their interview was over with. I kept thinking, boy, those people got serious hammer with Jay Leno. The rest of them had to stay, and help participate with the show. But not some. So how has your day gone, Mr. Lance Larson?
Well, it was pretty good. What happened, which was kind of a surprise to me, I've been working on a project with a gentleman, and he has got a custom builder that's building a desk, and I'm doing a bunch of carvings that are going onto that desk. And I was talking to the builder today to verify everything, so everything is fitting fine. Everything's going to go great when I ship them. He can just, move forward with the build. And as our conversation ended, he said, "Oh, by the way," which is always nice. He said, would you be able to do a bunch of carvings of flowers and things like that? I have an architect that is working on a build, some sort of build that needs quite a few of them, maybe a few dozen of them. So I said, certainly. Obviously going to say yes to that, and so he's going to be sending me that. So really, I was working with one person, and now the guy that is doing the build is now looking to have me do more work, and he likes what he sees, so he's pushing it towards some architects in his area. So I think that's pretty exciting to have a partnership like that start to build.
The idea is exactly how Al did it, exactly how Craig did it. it multiplies. The second I started doing carvings and engravings for Jacob Solomon, everything here changed for me as well. And it leads to this higher end upscale client who has these kind of demands, and they've got the money to do these custom things. It's worked exactly the same way for Jose. You just didn't realize you were already touching it, did you, Lance?
No, I really didn't. I didn't. I obviously kept in contact and was talking to him, but I didn't realize what I was into until today. It started dawning on me that there's a lot more there.
It's going to be fun. What's the difference in carving flowers and animals?
Well, for me, you don't have to try and build a personality into a flower as much. But it's still going to be a lot detailed too. But it's a little bit different. It's like I enjoy doing leaves. Flowers are fun, but anytime the plant life is always fun to do. It works hand in hand with animal carving, and I just like more than anything, I like carving wildlife and nature. So it's going to be very enjoyable. I know that.
And we talked a little bit this morning about the cultivation of your career and your name and your reputation. And can you see now, Lance, how what you're posting and what you're talking about is what Google picks up on, and thus is cultivating the future of what you're going after? So this other end in mind story of where you would most like to end up, it's a really big deal. That's important to keep cultivating that.
I'm noticing it in my stream. I'm noticing how if I go one direction in a few days, that stream changes slightly. So you got to really zero in. I'm going to start things I'm doing to zero it in a little bit more.
Yeah, what you +1 and what you comment on and then
exactly.
what you repost on, that's what then guides what you're going to get back. And so it's like the mirror on the wall thing when you go down through that stream. If you don't like what's in the stream, guess whose fault it is?
It's easy to get drawn into any kind of political and things like that, but if you want this to be business, you got to kind of keep it aimed.
Yep, absolutely. Design tomorrow, today. Attaboy. All right. I want you to mark today down, put a note and put it in your journal, a specific page today. What happened and how things went and what you think you picked up along here, and then put that one page over into your digital journal. Now what that does is that marks today as kind of a red letter day. And I guarantee you down the road, your journal, as you go back through it this day today, will say, yeah, I saw a couple of things I hadn't seen before. Otherwise, you'll forget about it. And this is a lining definition of the road, the path that you're now on. And so it really deserves that kind of a sign that you hang up in your life. Doesn't affect anybody else, but it sure is going to affect your future. You'll enjoy that.
Well, I'm to everything that's happening so far because it's, like I said, it's all fun. It's all fun. Having fun is my job, and well, actually, it's a part of my job. The other part of my job is 9 to 5, is not so much fun, but
we're working on that.
That's not a forever thing.
Yeah, we're working on that. We're going to redirect that a little bit and get you retired so you can come play with the rest of us old codgers that get to play all the time. That'll work great.
Yes.
Thanks much, Lance, for coming on. I'm really proud of you. This is good news.
I wish I could stay longer, but I'm kind of on a deadline I got to work on here. So, good night, everybody. Thank you very much.
Good night. We'll catch up with you later.
Okay.
Okay, now, yeah, there's Mel. Mel said goodbye. All of them will. Well, Ronnie, let's get you up here now and kind of describe to everybody, if you will, how this all got rolling. What happened the moment you got? How did you first get the notification?
Well, what happened was a few weeks ago, I was watching the news, and Brett Baer on his program mentioned that he was going to start.
We lost you, Ron. We lost your audio somehow.
Okay, now you got me, I guess.
Yeah, now we got you. Yeah, now we got you. Go for
Okay,
it.
I'll start over. A few weeks
Okay.
ago, Brett Baer on his news program mentioned that he was going to start doing hangouts on air. And so in the people search, I put his name in, it came up, and I just clicked on and put him in my friends circle. And I sent him a private message stating I thought this was great, and it's a new way to present and the news and to get feedback from the average person out there, because that's what he said he was going to be doing. And so I watched his next hangout on air, and I sent him another message. And this morning, I got a private message from him with his director's, or producers, I should say, producer's email address saying, if you'd like to be on the show, send an email to my producer, and she'll send you the information and make the arrangements. So I did that, and not too long later, I got an email from her, and shortly after that, I got an invite to go on a hangout, and it was her, and she said, "I just want to test the equipment," and we chatted for a while, and I told her that, well, I'm used to the hangouts because I've been on hangouts with the I&E network twice a week for the last 9 months. If you'd like to be on the show, send an email to my producer, and she'll send you the information. I'm getting feedback. So I did.
Yeah, I launched your link. You launched it too soon, so I'll back that off.
And shortly after that,
now, how do I shut it down here? Come on, Lewis.
All you have to do is mute it.
Well, I can't even find the window. I've got it open right now. It's going right all over the place here. Come on now. Where is it, Ron? I'm sorry. There, I think I got it. Sorry about that. Ron's got a link of it, was recorded, and he sent it to me in an email, so I'll play it here in just a minute. Back to square one.
I was on a hangout with his producer, and I told her I've been on hangouts with the network for the last 9 months to a year, and she said, "Oh, that's great." She said, "I don't have to explain a thing to you. You already know." And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Well, sometimes our connection down here isn't that great in Washington, so we might get lost." And I said, "Well, if something happens to me, I'll just click on the button and get back in again." She said, "Okay, you know exactly what to do." She said at 2:45, she said, "I'll invite you in, and we'll do a check and make sure everything's okay. And then Brett will get on about 5 minutes to 3, introduce himself, say hello, and he'll start at 3 o'clock." So it was maybe a little after 2:30, I got the invite. I went in, and she checked, everybody's sound check. And then later on, Judge Napolitano got in, and she got his sound check and everything. And we just muted our mics and turned off our cameras until she told us to get back in again. And a couple minutes to 3, wow. Brett Baer came in, sat down, introduced himself, said, "Here's what I'm going to do." And he said, "I'm going to go a little bit about what the program is going to be." He said, "Then I'm going to start, and I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself." And boom, that was it. And the show started, the hangout. And he basically started talking. Well, we introduced ourselves, and then he started talking to Judge Napolitano, and then we got into the meat of the show, which was on the Veterans Administration, Benghazi, and the IRS. But when he asked, do you want me to go over that, or are you going to play that?
Yeah,
what I said?
Well, we'll play it, but go over it as well, because this is really fun, guys. You're going to love this.
When he said, "Ron," he said, "I'm going to start with you." He said, "Tell us who you are and what you do." And I said, "Well, I'm Ron Schneeberger from Jupiter, Florida." And I said, "I'm retired, but before I retired, I started a hobby and turned it into a business." And how did I put it? I said, I'm a Ken Brown certified calligraphy engraver, and in 2011, Dr. Lou Jensen honored me with making me a master engraver in the I&E network, and now I'm taking my experience and working with others to help them overcome the pitfalls and the mistakes that I made so they don't make them. And I said, just like we say on the I&E network, having a good time is my job. And he laughed. Judge Napolitano laughed, and I couldn't pick up what he said, but I did hear him say something about an elevator pitch, so he knew exactly what I did. And that was it. And at the end of the show, he asked us about what our social media, what we do in social media, and I said mainly I'm on Facebook. Google Plus. I said I have a Facebook account and I have some stuff posted on Pinterest. And that's my social media activity, and the show lasted for 20 minutes, and that was it.
Well, how would you rate the experience of what happened today, Ron, in your own circumstances? Can you see how this is kind of a reinforcement of everything we've been talking about and everything we've been working on?
Oh, I went in there knowing exactly what was going to happen. I didn't have to worry about what the Hangout show was going to be about, except the content. And she sent me links with what from the Washington Post and some other newspapers as to what was going on with polls and things. So I brushed up on that. But as far as the Hangouts go, because of what we've been doing, I was so comfortable. It was just like doing it like we are tonight. That was not a problem with me.
Absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect. Sonia, it's good to have you come into the show, dear, but your mic's on, and I need you to turn your mic off for a few minutes, if you could, dear. Thank you. The fact that you went and found Brett Baer, okay, you saw him on the news program talking about Hangouts, and you knew enough to go put him into your search bar, your toolbar on the sidebar of your profile, and go look for him. And it took you right to him. So then you knew enough to also link to him, make a friend out of him. I put that kind of person down in my follower box. I've actually got most people I'm super interested in. I've marked them twice. I've marked them as a friend, and I've also marked them as I want to follow them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that helps. I think that double reference just kind of amplifies your interaction and communication with them. But you also knew enough to comment when you posted something back to Brett Baer. You knew enough to say, and I'm so positive this came out of your selling experience. You've sold for years, and all of you tend to not do that part. You don't sense the opportunity quite as I think you should, and then you kind of change yourself. A lot of people in that work will apologize for their circumstances in life all the time, and I'm going, don't do that anymore. There's no need to fuss with that in the least. You've got your feet on the planet, 2 feet just like anybody else, and you've got the same struggles, and you've got some of the same advantages. But you don't have to back up on anything, and people read that. They can kind of read and sense. I could tell from the conversation about the producer. When she called Ron, she's pretty damn excited about how you were and your experience and background already, Ron, and I know that's why you got first pop in the show today. Don't you think?
Probably. I'm sure they checked up on me and went to Google, and saw what I was posting, and other than that, why did I get a private message from Brett Baer? That's the thing that tipped me off, that he checked up on me.
Yeah, that just tickles me clear to death. I don't think it hurt that we spent some time working on your banner a little bit ago. I'm pretty sure that if you've got a not so good banner on your profile, somebody's going to pull it up, and I'm going, out of what I would like to know is, out of 500,000 views now, how many people came to my actual profile and looked at it and saw what I'm selling. If I'm talking about Success Mountain and I'm talking about hobbypreneurism, I sent out another proposal again today that's aimed right at that hobbypreneur name and concept, because I think it's going to just take over in the hobby and boomer generation world. That Bob Lowry today posted also that he's going back and play with his old hobby of
amateur radio.
Amateur radio, and he's so excited about that because there's a lot of people that play with that. Well, hell, that's everything we're playing with. That's exactly what it is. If you'll take a hobby and then nudge it just a little bit more, get a little more professional approach to what you're doing. Look at the little story that Ron gets to hang up on his life now and say, yeah, I remember that day, because we'll all remember it. We're going to never forget today for both Lance and for Ron, and I think what a nifty thing. So let's pull that up. Let me pull it up, and let's go see what we've got here with the link for this show. Now, if I can just get there again. Come on here, Google Chrome right there. Let's go open that up, and we'll go get Gmail. And it should load right from there.
For more policy-related news and to catch Red Bear live, visit foxnews.com/press. Presented by GE. Unique views on policy from the best in the news.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to our Google Hangout for this week. We decided on the policy side, the policy in play this week is really the investigations that we're seeing into the Obama administration and various elements of them, and what that means in the big picture. We can go into kind of each one. The one that's getting a lot of attention today is the VA investigation that is expanding Veterans Affairs and the treatment of veterans at healthcare facilities around the country. The Veterans Affairs Secretary Eric Shinseki up on the Hill today saying that he's looking into, and his organization is looking into, all of these different allegations of wait lines and problems at VA hospitals. Then, of course, you have the IRS investigation that is continuing. We just had some new emails out just yesterday from Judicial Watch regarding tying the IRS targeting of conservative groups back to Washington. And then Benghazi, which we've been following for a long time, with the formation of this select committee just this week. So let me start there. There are other investigations, obviously, as well. But let's go down the row and introduce yourself. Tell me where you're from and a little bit about yourself. Ron, let's start with you.
I'm Ron Schneeberger from Jupiter, Florida. I'm retired, but before I retired, I turned a hobby into a business. I am a Ken Brown certified calligraphy engraver. In 2011, Dr. Lou Jensen honored me as being a master engraver from the I&E network. And what I do now is try to help people climb Success Mountain like I did, but avoid all the mistakes. And as we say in the I&E network, having a good time is my job.
Nice. That was a pretty good elevator story right there. Thanks for being here. Janet, how about you?
Great. I am from Houston, Texas. I work for a large banking group, global banking group. But what I do is I travel around the country working with business bankers, helping businesses from startup all the way up to 25 million in sales revenue. Help them, really, I'm a number cruncher, so I help them read financial statements, tax returns, and really find out what makes them successful and what keeps them from being successful. I love talking to business owners. I like hearing Ron talk about how he got into what he did, his passion. So a lot of what we do in today's kind of political climate affects these business owners, and so they're the backbone of our economy. That's why I'm here.
Yeah, well, that's great. Well, thanks for being here. Brandon, I know you've been here before, but tell us a little about yourself.
I have been. Thanks for having me again here, Brett. I'm Brandon June. I'm actually in Toronto, Canada. I go to school up here in Canada. But I also host a weekly online show on the line with Brandon June on the Tea Party News Network. So I'm well versed in all the political shenanigans, if you will, and what we're going to discuss today. And it's a bit of a hobby of mine to talk about it. And, well, I'm happy to be here to talk to all of you guys here about the whole conversation. Well versed in politics, and that's what I love.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for being here again. We are fortunate to have Judge Andrew Napolitano, our Fox News judicial analyst, with us. Judge, let me start there. First of all, about the collection of these investigations and what it means, perhaps, that they pile up. Democrats and some people on the Hill will say, this is all an effort to lead up to the midterms, and it's all political. How do you look at all these things?
Well, I look at it from a couple of different perspectives, and Brett, thanks for having me with you and our colleagues who have been watching Fox and joining us. It's a pleasure. Brett and I spend between 10 and 15 hours a day in New York or D.C., and we don't ordinarily get the kind of interaction that we can enjoy and experience with you folks now. So welcome here with us. So here are my observations on these investigations. It can be deeply and profoundly frustrating for the Congress when information that the Congress has subpoenaed is not surrendered in response to the subpoena, but shows up somewhere else. We saw the same pattern with Watergate 40 years ago, and now we've seen it twice here, once with Benghazi and once with the IRS. The committee that is investigating the IRS should have seen the subpoenas, which were revealed yesterday because they were subpoenaed, but they were not surrendered as they should have been pursuant to that subpoena. Rather, they were surrendered pursuant to a Freedom of Information Act request, which, though a lawful demand, doesn't rise to the level of a congressional subpoena. We saw the same thing 2 weeks ago with a subpoena to the White House, which was responded to by silence, and then again the same fearless watchdog group, Judicial Watch, using again the Freedom of Information Act, managed to pry loose a subpoena, which is almost literally a smoking gun. In both of these instances, the Lois Lerner subpoenas, which came or emails, which came out yesterday, and the Ben Rhodes email, which came out 2 weeks ago, we see high-ranking administrative officials skating on such thin ice. This is so close to being unlawful that now investigations are profoundly warranted. And if we had a truly independent Justice Department, which we don't, and candidly we never do, no matter which party is in the White House, they would be champing at the bit to investigate this as well. So,
yeah, it's interesting. You say all that. I think Kirsten Powers the other night last night said something that was really interesting, in that she said, maybe Congress should start putting in FOIA requests for documents, because it seems that the FOIA seems to be working instead of the subpoena. Maybe it's two different people answering two different
You know what I think happened? I think that these FOIA requests, and remember, I have a career in the government. These FOIA requests are so regular, consistent, systematic, and candidly a pain in the neck, that they are often assigned to a low-level person who doesn't have the political sophistication as the person to whom the subpoenas are assigned. It is almost inconceivable that these things would not have been surrendered pursuant to the subpoena, then they just show up pursuant to a FOIA request. So
yeah, we got 2 in 2 weeks. Well, Jenna, what do you think about all this, these investigations? What strikes you as most important?
What strikes me as very interesting about them is how much a lot of the general public really doesn't know what's going on. I was watching a reporter yesterday interviewing some people on the street. Now, I think it was Washington, but people didn't know we were having an investigation on Benghazi. And it wasn't just young people. You think, well, young people are so involved in so many other things, but it ran the gamut. And several of these people didn't know that we were still continuing this and what we were looking for. And so I'm very concerned about it. I wonder, and maybe you can answer the question, if we do subpoena, if we get more into this inquiry, will we be able to get things like logs and things that even happened before the investigation started, before the event happened in September 11th? Because I'd like to know exactly why so many people were there at a place we knew that so much was going on. Over 30 people. And it wasn't an embassy; it was an office, a consulate, or whatever you call it. And so, why were they there? What was their purpose? What was their sole purpose of being there? And who sent them there in the first place? So, and we heard Hillary say that she didn't, that Stevens went on his own, but then we also heard from people in the field that it was a direct request from Hillary. So I'd like to know that. I'd also like to know exactly how did Stevens die, because we heard smoke inhalations, and yet there's videos where the crowd actually were dragging him. And so, I'd like to know really specifically how did he die, because I think it's important to know that. I think it's important that we know all the stream of, what the emails were going back and forth and the instructions, what we were looking for, why we were there. Just the huge thing about trying to cover it up is all political. Okay, it's all political, but if they were covering it up because there are political reasons, an election and a future election, then you have to know that the rescue, when that was all happening, those same political ideas were going through their head as they're debating, how do we do this? Am I thinking about how do I do this to be viewed politically?
Yeah, I think those are good questions. I think that the select committee with Trey Gowdy is going to try to get to a number of things before, during, and after. I think that they will subpoena a number of things that haven't been received. The question is, Judge, I guess, how much leeway does the White House have on executive privilege to not produce, let's say, the presidential diary, along with where exactly he is minute by minute? How much leeway is there with the select committee if they ask for those things?
One of the good things that came out of Watergate is a Supreme Court opinion called United States versus Nixon, Richard Nixon, which sets forth the bases for the presidential invocation of executive privilege and the circumstances under which it can be rejected and the procedures for it. So here's how it would work. Let's say the committee wants to see the president's diary or the log of where the president was during the 8 hours of this firefight. They subpoena it, and the White House says executive privilege. It doesn't end there. At that point, the committee sends lawyers across the street to a federal judge, and the federal judge, presumably, this is what John Sirica did in the Watergate era, will order the subpoena documents surrendered to him or her. And that judge will then view them in secret with nobody else there, not even a law clerk, just the judge alone in his or her chambers with the doors locked. And the judge will decide whether the documents fit in the following three categories: sensitive national security, such that the revelation of the contents of the documents could adversely affect the nation's security today; military secrets or diplomatic secrets. If the documents fall into any of those three categories, then the judge is going to send them back to the White House and say, you keep them. I'm going to quash that portion of the subpoena that sought them. But if the documents are outside of those categories, then the judge is going to send those documents not back to the White House, but to the committee, which can choose to look at them in private or expose them to the public. This is not a procedure that was followed with Congressman Ice's committee. This is a procedure that terrifies the White House, and quite frankly, but to be very candid, it's going to depend on the personal disposition of the judge and how narrowly or broadly the judge interprets this case, U.S. v. Nixon. And again, the three categories: sensitive national security, military secrets, diplomatic secrets.
Interesting. That's a really good detail. Ron, Janet in Houston is concerned about the Benghazi investigation. What about you? What concerns you?
Well, what concerns me, I'm going to start with the VA. I know it's new, but I have friends and a son in that healthcare system. And if what's going on if people are put on a wait list and their files put in a separate computer or file system. That is just outrageous to me. I don't want to see my friends or my son have to jump through hoops and boxes to get the health care that they deserve for what they've given to this country. With the IRS and Benghazi, I think both of those are going to take outside investigations. I don't think the Department of Justice can handle it because I think they're biased. And I would like to see outside investigations in both those cases. I don't care if it's a Republican or a Democrat, and it's all done on both sides all the time. I want the truth to come out and let the chips fall where they may, and let's start from there. Let's get the facts out and everybody see what they are.
Yeah, today, Eric Susecki, the Secretary of Veterans Affairs, said there's an internal audit and he's doing all these things. The interesting thing about that is that there was already an Office of the Inspector General report and review of a number of these allegations and an internal investigation that has been on for 8 months now. So the Secretary would have probably seen the results of some of that already, and I think that's where some of the critics are saying it's been languishing, and so it's been getting a lot of attention. Vanna, what about you?
Yeah, Janet mentioned at the beginning that it was shocking to her, and I think a lot of people as well, that a lot of people out there don't actually know much about Benghazi. They don't know that there's going to be the select committee that was just formed, there's going to be an investigation, et cetera, et cetera. And I want to take from that and go back to the media, because, that's what I do in school. I study media a lot, and then, that's what I want to pursue a job in media. And it really worries me, the freedom of the press and how they are reporting on certain situations, the biases in the media. I mean, we look at Cheryl Atkinson, for example, who tried to, investigate this Benghazi cover-up, some call it, others not so much, whatever it may be. And, she was essentially kicked off from the networks. And that's scary. Fox is really the only one that's been covering this extensively, and thank goodness for you guys over at Fox who are covering it. But that's what worries me, the media, and how media can be biased towards one president, one administration, one party at times. They selectively cover some things while ignoring others. And unfortunately, Benghazi is one of those, and I don't really think it is a political issue. I think it is a national security issue. That it's something to look at and say, was there incompetency? Was there a cover-up? And if so, we need to find out. Let's not play politics with this. And unfortunately, there's even a poll that was out, I think. It said the vast majority of people, I think 53 or 54%, view Benghazi. They think it's important, but on top of that, unfortunately, they think that a lot of people are politicizing it on both sides of the aisle, and with the media, it's just adding on to that. So I worry for the politicization of this, how the media is covering it, and if we won't get any answers, because it seems to some as a political witch hunt, which I don't think it is, but the media is making out to be that it looks like such.
Yeah, Judge, I tell you, it's interesting he brings up the media. The coverage of Benghazi has been quite something to watch. Obviously, got a little bit more coverage when this new email came out just a month ago, and it kind of went away again. And there is this, there are these questions that seem to be wanting to be asked by other reporters. And it's interesting. If you see the White House briefing room, when Jay Carter came out and said that this new email from Ben Rhodes was not about Benghazi, and it was instructing Susan Rice what to say on the Sunday shows, I mean, there was a shock and disbelief from all reporters, New York Times, BBC, CBS. They were pummeling me with questions. That outrage or those questions really didn't make it into a lot of news stories, Judge. And it's just interesting to watch.
It's interesting, and for those of us who try to do the right thing, you're on the news side, I'm on the opinion side. At Fox, it can be very frustrating. But Vanden makes some great observations. One would think that there would have been outrage, and there was, but it was so short-lived among the press, because they're being either misled, tricked, deceived, or outright lied to. And that should result in them shedding their ideological biases, their joy at the presidency of Barack Obama for whatever historical or moral reasons or political reasons, and do their job, which is to get to the truth of governmental behavior. But this Ben Rhodes email is such a smoking gun. I mean, it really is trigger enough for any prosecutor with the authority with the jurisdiction, I should say, to commence a grand jury investigation. The bar for Congress to commence an investigation is far lower. So there's plenty here for the Congress to justify legally this kind of an investigation. But Congress can only investigate. It can't prosecute. It can gin up the press. It can gin up the public. It can expose wrongdoing and almost shame the administration into investigating itself. But Ron, the person who would choose a special prosecutor or independent counsel, I'm chuckling because I think you're going to chuckle in a few seconds, is none other than Attorney General Eric Holder himself, the president's best friend in Washington, D.C. But that's the system that we have. That's the bad side. The good side is, if crimes were committed using federal personnel and federal assets to advance a political campaign, there's a 7-year statute of limitations on that. So the Attorney General of President blank, fill in the blank, whoever is elected in 2016 would have the legal authority to prosecute.
That's what I'm hoping.
Anybody,
That's kind of obvious.
yeah, anybody have any questions before we kind of wrap it up?
Yeah, Brett, you know what, I wanted to ask you again, back to the media side of things, because, I mean, you know, you're someone who has been leading on talking about Benghazi, trying to get down to the issue, and as the judge said a moment ago, you're on the news side of things, which, you know, a lot of people, you know, they say things about Fox, which I think is completely unfair, and their whole opinion not true. I mean, you're one of the best in the business for news, but how have you felt any pressure per se, or you know, any scrutiny that you didn't think was fair, or that you get from your former, you know, your colleagues at the other networks, or you know, even friends who talk about this and say, you know, maybe this isn't something to cover, because I feel like there's a lot of pushback with the elites in the media to say that we shouldn't touch this, you know, leave it alone, it's not a big scandal, etc. And again, you're doing a very fair amount of job. You're not giving an opinion on it. I mean, you know, so how does that feel to you?
There is a culture in Washington, clearly, that sometimes there gets to be this groupthink in coverage, and that if you're outside that bubble of groupthink where Washington thinks about something that's, you know, they make jokes about it, or, you know, review about it at some event or something. But listen, we made a pledge on Special Report that if there is something new with this investigation, we are going to cover it. And if there isn't, we're not. We're going to let the chips fall where they may, and we're going to cover the news. And that's what we've strived to do from the beginning. There's plenty of questions to ask, but, you know, you have to be able to advance the ball at some point. And we'll see what happens with the select committee. And if they overreach, there will be political payback, clearly. And I think Republicans know that. But as far as the media culture, there clearly is a sense that you know, if you're doing this story, there's a reason for doing it, as opposed to just finding out the answers to questions.
Which is really important, I think.
Yeah, let me go down the row. Just ask you about social media. Janet, what do you use social media
for? You know, I think it's an important part of how now people interact. And I'd have to say probably before the elections of 2012, I was very little concerned about it, never got involved in it. But since just before the election, as a matter of fact, I'm addicted to tweeting. I would follow you on that. But I like seeing what other people think. I follow people I normally wouldn't follow. I think it's important to know, you know, what makes people believe the way that they do. And so, especially politically, it's kind of interesting.
That's great. Ron, what do you do? What do you plug in?
I'm very active on Google Plus. I'm on 2 Hangouts a week with the I&E Network. I'm on Facebook. I have some of my work posted on Pinterest. But I'm glad to see that you've kind of taken the lead in using Google Hangouts as a way to further the news and get discussions going. I think it's great, Brett. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Ron. And Brandon?
Well, I'm a youngin', so, social media is sort of something that we all love, us young kids. I know, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Google Plus, here and there. I mean, I do obviously because you're on there, Brett, and it's fun to have this conversation, but I'm all over the place.
Yeah. And Judge, I know you're all over the place. Thanks so much for being with us, Judge. Really appreciate it. I love the discussion about all this stuff. Just to wrap up, the policy related segment, like Bandon in Toronto, Janet in Houston, and Ron in Jupiter, Florida. Janet concerned about the Benghazi investigation. Ron, your family involved in the VA situation directly, and that is something that is happening right now as we speak. In fact, they just left a briefing where Eric Shinseki was talking to reporters. That is going to explode, I think. The Veterans Affairs issue is so emotionally charged that it crosses both sides of the aisle. And you're starting to see lawmakers not just say Secretary Shinseki is at fault, but they're starting to point to President Obama and the White House. So I think that change will start to happen today. And Bandon, interesting questions about the Benghazi, the coverage, and the media. I think we're going to stay on the story no matter what, and we'll see where it goes. Judge, as always, thank you. We'll see.
Thank you, Ron, for your support.
Oh, you're welcome.
Most definitely.
How cool was that? Is that the most amazing thing? And then look what we get to do with it. I mean, now we get to play with that even more. That multiplication of a comment, it's like reposting now. It's done. Ron's got his name in the headlights, and yeah, it is 15 seconds of fame, but it's a pretty important thing to realize that what we do with it now is what will determine if there's much happens here. Can you tell, all of you tell, that they're experimenting too? The lighting was terrible and the whole situation. Ron was the only one who showed up with any color. Did you notice that? You could see his face and his colors stood out, and all the rest of them were this dark gray. Brett was highlighted a bit, and he's definitely made up. So that was a little unusual. But Napolitano, it looked like he just walked in the door and sat down and said, "Okay, what the hell? Let's go with
Basically, that's what happened.
it." Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, he walked in at the last minute, sat down. Yeah.
It came across that way too. Now I think he's a shrewd dude. I think his commentary is always something I really do enjoy. But Janet, can all of you see how she didn't know where to put her camera? All it did was catch her right here, and I try and nudge all of you, just get you on camera. It's going to happen more and more here. And the film kind of knows how to play the game. Really, really helped. And so a little light on you when you're presenting and in the shows, your head located in the frame to a point where people can see you. I wanted to comment specifically about the young man. I couldn't catch but about every third word that he spoke. He was way too fast in his presentation. And this has a slight delay to it anyway. So to get your point across, you've got to slow down somewhat. And it was apparent that he is not interested in slowing down. That whole generation are still in high gear. They're coming after the world, and it's their future. So I look at things like that and say, well, you couldn't criticize it and help at all. I don't think people in that situation would see or even care much. They are just thrilled that they get to be in that loop. But I thought, Ron, your commentary was thoughtful. Janet kind of overtook the conversation and went a little too far, and yours was just freaking perfect.
I think she was nervous.
Yeah, she could see it. You know, you could tell she was kind of out of her water and out of her element. And
Well,
obviously, talking about veterans is the best thing you can do.
yep. Uh, Brett and the way he was speed talking, basically, that's the way they broadcast. That's what he's used to doing on a nightly basis. He's got X amount of time to put together the story and get it out.
Well, I liked how he commented on it, and they each got to comment on it, brought the questions up, and then he went back and hit it one more time and gave him one more final hoorah. And I thought that's how most news guys, I think that are professionals, they know to do that. So I thought he handled that part really well. Technology isn't here what it is in a television station, obviously, yet. But I fully expect one day for this to be just the most amazing technology that can stay up with us. So I think we're doing pretty damn good. I love. Oh, that was fun. Was that fun for you, Ronnie?
Yeah, it was. I kind of was watching what was going on, and I was looking at it. I'm thinking, man, do we have a jump on some of these people? They don't have a clue, and it's by watching Ronnie Bincer and reading what he says about how to do a hangout and different things and knowing about the speed and the delay and everything else, it sure helps. And I
We're
I
learning.
just I just think that helped me in what because I definitely slowed down and just waited and gave an answer. And I was always one, if somebody asked me a question, especially in a situation like that, I was always one to give bullet point answers, get to the point, say it, and then shut up. And that's basically what I did.
Well, I thought you handled it. Just, I know you're my friend, but this is kind of a critique that we're looking at tonight because I'm expecting more of this. I think we'll get more and more of this same kind of exchange. We're now as a little group going out and we're penetrating this whole social media thing, whatever it is. I don't think anybody really even knows yet what's going on here, or much less how to use it. And we're doing a little better. And when we bother to sit down and participate and think through it a little bit, and then make some notations of what's going on, so that a year from now you're going to remember where you were, and now kind of be able to measure and see how far you've come. And for you, Ron Schneeberger, you should have a really good sense of what's happened in this last year. Your ability to reach out now has been, when I went hunting for that, the photographer that had done the picture, Bill Gickus' daughter Athena, I found him so fast it was unbelievable. I do this all the time, every day, and I still was startled at how quickly I linked up with him. And I'm going, boy, that has changed the world. That's just making all of this speed of access of information. And before long, all of these media outfits are going to figure out how to basically take the private opinion like they did with Ron and Janet, and I can't remember that kid's name now that was on with them. They took their private opinion, and man, you got to mix in with the best of them. And I'm convinced, I don't know if Judge Napolitano will remember anybody else on that show, but I know dang well Brett Baer and Judge Napolitano are going to remember Ron Schneeberger. That's cool. That is really, really a neat thing. Any other comments, everybody?
And Master Ron Schneeberger did it all on an iPhone.
No, oh crap! How come that's got to come up? Okay, one for the iPhone right here. I've got to figure out something for the Android.
Well, now Ron's going to have to send each of these gentlemen, Judge Napolitano and Brett, something with their names engraved on it.
What do you think about that thought, Ronnie?
Oh, well, you and I already talked about that. and I can't forget Katie. She's the producer because
Definitely not forget
she
her.
had a lot to do with it, you know.
Yeah, Katie's the ace in the deck. Absolutely.
Not only is she the producer for Brett Baer, she's also a producer for Britt Hume.
Yep. Well, when you realize someone was driving the ship today, it didn't look like Brett Baer was the moderator. It looked like maybe she was, but she hasn't yet learned to fix the camera. See, I can take the camera and put it on me, and I can take the camera and I can fix it on Mel, and we don't leave it there very long, so we go to Nick really quickly. And when you can lock it down, that
You
keeps
can only
it from
handle
bouncing.
great looks for so long.
Yeah, I'm right. And so those are just funny little, silly little things that I've learned by doing, and well, they do help the production, and everybody's going to get more savvy with that. We're going to get a lot smarter about what to do and how to do it. But I thought today was rather convincing. I can't wait to kind of bounce off the network as a whole. We shot out an email this morning to 4,400 current end users that are not playing with us, and within 2 hours we had 1,000 open it up. And that means that they're fairly active and they're responsive and they're playing on the web. And I'm sitting going, oh, how in the hell am I going to get you guys to come over here and mix with us more and realize what's actually going on? Because I think for each of you, you're going to see a tremendous advantage because you've made the effort to participate. Any other comment, Jay? What do you think about today? Can you see that being good for a motorcycle engraving guy?
Well, I can see that being good in a lot of ways for a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
Just little connection. You can put it as a little connection, big connection, however you want to put it. It's, to me, it's the little connections that lead up to the big connections, and then it just balloons from there. So
goes from there. Yeah. That's how I think success works. It's a little like if you're trying to attract lightning, you want to have it hit the lightning rod where you want it to hit. That's
not your umbrella.
Not your umbrella.
And not the tower I'm on either, please.
Umbrella that Mel's got, that's where I'm aiming it for. So.
Hey, I know how to put down a ground lead.
Do you?
Oh, yes.
You military guys know all that kind of safety stuff, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I was a welder for quite a while, and I know what an electrical rod feels like.
Dennis don't know anything about that stuff. Debbie, what did you think of today? How was that for you?
I thought that was wonderful. Congratulations, Ron.
Well, it's, thank you. I like I said, I just did what my instinct told me to do, and that's all I did. And I was surprised as much as everybody else when I got that private message from Brett Baer, and how quickly they responded to my email and everything else. So it was kind of a shocker.
I was pleased you knew everything to do too. Go ahead, Debbie.
I said that's great. I mean, and you went with your instincts, and you knew it was a great opportunity. So, kudos.
Absolutely, absolutely. Double kudos. Anybody else want to comment? Steve Willie, what did you think of that? Is that great?
Well done, Ron. I'm glad you and Lou are out there leading the forefront of this PR approach. When you
it's not Lou and me. It's everybody in that's taking part here, and other people in the network who can't get on. It's not. It's all of us.
Well, I realize that, but right now you're in the front line, and when you mentioned the I&E network, and the logo. I just can't help but think that producer, over time, when she learns to recognize that logo, that'll be great credibility to anybody that she wants to talk to. So,
yeah,
kudos. Well done.
I look forward to that. I'd like us to be in the news a little bit all the time for all the good reasons. And that's we got to learn to harness the media. We can't avoid it. We can't sit back and be jealous of what someone else has gotten and then realize that if this opportunity is going to come for each of us, we've got to do our part. And I'm just convinced doing it together is deadly stuff. Way different than trying to take it all on alone. Rod, what'd you think of tonight? You got a mic? Can't hear you yet. Turn your mic on. Not getting you yet. Something's not hooked up.
You're unmuted, but your microphone on your headset may be muted. Or the volume may not be high enough.
Can't figure it out. All right. Play with it a little bit, Rod. See what you can come back with, okay? Joni, what do you think of your friend? Kind of an interesting day today for him, wasn't it?
I'm so proud of him, I could hardly stand it. I think that it's just, you know, this whole country needs people like him that's not afraid to speak out and worry that, oh, I may offend somebody. And I think it's great. I really do, Ron.
Thank you, Joni.
Good, good, good.
We need more people like you, Joni.
For what?
For being the person that you are. I mean, you know, you don't realize it, and it's going to take you a little while, I think, like it did me. But you contribute so much that you just don't understand yet.
I'm hoping that's true for all of us. It takes a lot of courage to stick your face in here and bother to hook things up and get into the microphone and sit down and throw your 2 cents worth on the wall. But God, Lord, I think that's so important. Everybody I've worked with who is willing to take a shot at that, their life seems to grow. They're not who they used to be. I'm going to try and find old footage of Craig Hone when I first started having him come into my classes and try and teach a little bit, and just scare the living bejeebies out of him. He would get physically sick and not show up because he didn't dare do it. And now, when you see the presentation and stuff that I just filmed these last couple of days, and begin to realize he's getting so good at doing the work, but also expressing what's going on in your own life. And because what's going on in your life, Joni, is affecting literally millions of people right now. You're not the only one going through this last few years of our life. Every one of us here, there's a couple of youngsters. Debbie's pretty young, and Jay's just a kid, but the rest of us have got a few years on us, and we're going through this last chapter of what's life going to be. You read some of Bob Lowry's posts, and you begin to realize there's 60,000 people a month look at Bob Lowry's blog. He's got quite an interesting wrench on what's going on in the boomer and older generations, and I'm thinking, well, I don't think we see it yet, but I think we're playing with that. I think we're really coming up with some alternatives and some options. So on Google, you see it every day, some quote from usually somebody famous that said, what you want to do is go after the things that make you the most anxious. Yeah. The stuff you're afraid of is the very thing you need to put your arms around and say, you know what, God damn it, I can do this. I can learn to paint, and if it can learn to oil paint, anybody can learn to do anything.
Well, I wanted you to know that I did all day today. Even while I was in the hospital, in the doctor's office for 4 hours straight, taking tests and things, I kept thinking about what is my decision? What am I going to focus my art on. And I have definitely decided it's going to be in wood carving.
Okay.
Gun stocks, or I've got coming up with ideas that I want to do a picture, or a large picture in carving, and then I can always inject my oils and my paints accordingly to make it the expression that I want in my mind as I'm thinking of it.
I just had a good idea, Joni. I want you to write down the name of Joe Cummings. Joe's also a master. Go to joecummingsstudio.com and look at that long panel he carved of that stagecoach. It's a copy of the Wells Fargo logo, and he kind of got himself over a barrel with it because he got further into it before he realized where the artwork really came from. But he sold that carving. It's a piece of walnut. He sold it for $10,000.
Oh, wow.
And it's a fireplace. It's a fireplace mantle, and it's a beautiful, beautiful carving. And that's the thing that I think you hang up in front of yourself and say, well, if somebody else can do something like that, I would stick to sailing and boats and stuff that's your lifetime experience. You and your husband have been in the fishing industry all these years. Pick out some kind of a scene, but go see what Joe's done. Then he's had that cast in bronze, and they've sold 4 more of those at $5,000 each. So he's made 30 grand off that one carving.
Wow.
And I've mentioned it 2 or 3 times in the shows to try and have all of you realize there's so much potential right under your nose. Most of you have not even begun to fight yet. So proud of you for making some decisions, Joni. And you still have your life to you live. You can change and adjust. We're none of us putting our feet in concrete here on anything.
Yeah.
But in all of business, the thing that I've seen the most is people who are kind of all over the place never make much money. Jack of all trades might make you feel comfortable because you can do just about everything. There's not a motor I can't make run. But they never make much money. It's always this specific, focused thing that you start playing with, and then you start saying, I'm going to get really good at that one thing. So that's going to be great. Any other commentary? Sonia, did you get your microphone going yet, lady?
Hello.
There you are, babe. How are you?
I'm good.
What'd you think about Ron's escapade today? We lost her.
Oh, no.
Are you still there? What did you think about Ron? Did you get to see the video clip from Fox? What's going on, Nick? Is she over amplifying?
I'm guessing her connection's a little slow.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Yeah, I think she's kind of fading in and out on us.
You start talking and then it clicks out, so I bet it is. You're not getting enough speed on your connections. But for all of us, every one of us have some things to work on and some things to try. And as we're just getting a little better all the time. Did you get yours fixed, Rod? Still can't quite figure out what's the problem there, huh? Maybe we can get on a separate single individual satellite with one of them. Ron, maybe you can give him a hookup and see if you can get him worked through till he gets that audio fixed and get it worked out. Okay, troops, got a super busy weekend this week. I suspect all of you are the same way. I'm probably more proud of one thing, and that's when you said having a good time is our job. Notice how they both, Bear and Napolitano reacted.
Yep.
And if you sense at all what the schedule for Judge Napolitano is like and what the schedule for Brett Bear is like, guess what? The number one desire of most human beings is to get past that damn schedule. No matter how much money you make, it's not worth it when you can't control your own time. And neither one of them have the control of their own time yet.
I think that's why they laughed.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why they laughed. You've got the ideal lifestyle, and they're still trying to figure out how the hell do I get to that. So, Good enough. Good stuff. Good memories. Great participation. Thank you, Ron, for all you did for all of us. It was an amazing thing what happened today. Mel, you're just about Ron's best friend, so give him some counsel and we'll call it a night.
Hello?
Rod's got it.
Did I get it?
Yes.
Hey, there you are.
I figured it out. Hey, Ron. Great job, Ron. I'm really proud of you.
Thank you.
I thought you did a wonderful job. Your presentation, your way that you spoke, and telling about having a good time is your life. I thought that was great.
Yeah, it was perfect timing.
Hey, Doc, got one quick thing. I was surprised. Some young man from MIT asked me to join his circle. He has over 100 million views on his site.
Whoa, yeah.
His name's Alex P. I'll send you his contact information.
Post it up. Just put it in the stream. Take something he's done and repost it and comment, and then repost it. Then we'll all see it. That's the most powerful thing going on here is that Google's doing all this connecting stuff for us. In the past, we had to do an email and wait and see and whatever, and now, man, it just bam, it happens.
In his profile, his about, Google's doing some amazing things.
Yeah, they are, and I kind of fully expect that the advantage over here. Notice how the young man reacted to the Google Plus thing. He says, "Yeah, I'm on Facebook and I do all this stuff. Google Plus, not so much." But I think most people are misjudging the strength that I see. This right here. If Google Plus didn't do anything else but open this production door, you're all building a private studio production around you. And all we need is a database to support each of you. And then we're going to go out and get that database together. And you keep hanging in here and keep looking at your own circumstances like Joni's doing. It takes a lot of personal courage to pick your life apart and try and sort out these issues about, I don't like this so much, but I do like this a lot. Stay with your soul. Your soul knows those whispers that keep coming to you are the path you should take, and I'm absolutely positive that's the case. We all get that direction from our ancestors saying, hey, Rod, pay attention. Go this way with the rest of your life. Then you'll get out of your living what you ought to have gotten. And the fact that we're able to share it together, to me, is just amazing. I think it's just absolutely dynamite. Tickled you got that. You split the Red Sea and got the audio going, Roderick. Good boy. Steve Willie, you got a comment?
Yeah, just one last comment. Tonight, Ron was the tip of the spear. Tomorrow night, it'll be somebody else at the tip of the spear, and so on. We'll all take our turns, and we'll all build this thing to something wonderful. Big.
Great. Good way to finish it. Appreciate that a ton, Steve Willie. Okay, everybody, good night. Rod, do you want to say one more word before we go?
I know, I got nothing more to say.
Okay.
I'm going to listen, Lou.
Okay.
Rod,